Last year, I learned a really great lesson about most of the success stories that we hear. And that is that they tend to underestimate the role that luck played. So we hear a lot of like success stories about most of the people who we know are successful. And when you look at their stories, you think, wow, this guy worked so hard, is self-made, and yeah, he did it on his own. But that's not always the case. In fact, after reading this book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, I actually learned that most of the success stories we hear tend to understate the role that luck and things like privilege play in somebody's success. Yeah, so most of the times when we hear a story, it'll be like, no, this guy came from rags to riches and he did it all on his own. But there were actually like several factors which come into play for somebody to be successful. And yeah, so reading that book, I came to understand that certain things like your background, yeah, so how affluent or less privileged people have got different factors or things that they have to overcome for them to be successful. Yeah, and one of the most intriguing lessons in that book was that there was a genius who came from like a poor or less privileged background, and then there was someone who was also a genius but from an affluent background. And what happened is that as the stories go on, you discover that the person who came from the less privileged background failed to like get that level of success that he was supposed to, even though his IQ score was like crazy. And it was because his background didn't teach him like how to communicate and things like confidence, you know, like they didn't have certain aspects to themselves. And then for the person who came from like a privileged background, the parents would encourage them to speak to people in authority. They're not that scared and they know how to negotiate things. So tiny differences, but different outcomes. So if you're struggling with something right now, maybe you come from a less privileged background, don't think that your failure is totally due to you. Luck actually plays a significant role. Of course, there's a saying that the harder you work, the luckier you get. Yeah, but you can work hard, but from what I saw in that one is like even different generations, the hard work of a previous generation can affect the hard work of the next generation. So it's not all up to you and it's not all your fault. I wish you the best and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.